Hello, welcome to our third Applied Behavioral Science class. As you may recall, last week we talked a lot about the Myers-Briggs personality inventory, and then at the end of the class we took the DISC profile. If you haven't done so, definitely try to take the DISC profile before you watch this video so that you can follow along. One of the things we did in class 3 was to compare the Myers-Briggs results with the DISC profile and see what the differences and similarities were with the outcomes, as well as comparing the different philosophies behind each test and how they drastically differ in what they're actually telling you. Whereas the Myers-Briggs personality test tries to show a person how they see themselves, the DISC really tells you more about how you interact with people in different environments. So they really are different, and it's interesting to see them both side to side. Another thing we did in class that you can see in the video is we reviewed how to make people like you, which is a section of Dale Carnegie's How to Win Friends and Influence People. Lastly, we divided the class into separate groups to present on the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. So I hope you enjoy, and definitely let me know if you have any questions about the class.
Okay, this isn't really working. But let's, so really quickly, I'm handing back these journals, and it's, sometimes I wrote, like, something that I would say instead of what you wrote. But many times it's correct. It's just like, think about it a different way. It's just an idea. But thank you, these are really, really good. Okay, we're going to do them every week. Okay, so now let's just say our names, because then we're going to play a game where you need to know each other's names. Okay, now, let's go. Make a circle. It's only going to take 5 minutes. Okay? It involves lemons. Okay. Okay, so get a little closer. Alright, okay. Okay, don't leave people out. Okay, it goes like this. Sulin. Andres. Okay, go. You have to throw it to other people. But wait. There's one rule. The same person can't have the lemon. So they can't have the 2 lemons. You can only have 1 lemon at a time. Okay, so you can't both throw it to Billy's. Okay? Okay, go. Oh, there's one more rule. There's one more rule. There's one more rule. You need to say the name of the person. Throw it at people. And there's one more rule. You can't throw it to the same person every time. Okay. Okay. Yes, change. So you have to pay attention to what other people's names are. Okay? Go.
Lucas. Bruno.
Good game.
Não tá aí atrás.
Like all soft.
Daqui, ó.
Here. Okay. Did anyone learn any new names? Maybe. Has anyone been on the website lately? Probably not. I'm such a nerd. I'm the only one that goes on. But check it out. If you are interested in seeing what we have done, if you miss class, if you forget something, there's a video of us. Guys, it has 0 0 views. Okay? It will have 0 views, always. But that's okay. And the internet is not very good, so we're not even going to watch it today. But, I really want to show you. Did anyone see the link I posted? Let me just show you this first. What animal are you? A fox? Yeah? Octopus.
Deer.
Deer? Let's see who else is what. ENTJ. Me too, me too. Louisa, will you read it for everyone?
Lion. Independent and logical thinkers who are also persuasive thinkers. ENTJs are business-minded and ambitious. They refuse to allow its subjective emotion to enter into their decision-making process. And as a result, they can be seen as cowards and cold. But these fierce individuals tend to be highly effective, successful, and incredible powerful. They are thoroughly the kings of the proverbial judge.
Yeah. Who else got that? Billy's got that? Girl power. ENFJ, that's you? Lucas? Bruno? Bruno, will you read it, please?
ENFJs are social butterflies.
Cheerleader.
Of wide variety of friends and acquaintances.
So what we're going to do is watch a video, okay? And I want you to follow along, writing down on the video what each thing is. Okay? So take notes.
So here's a quick description of the DISC model for those of you who've never seen it before. If we look at the model of human behavior, look at the range of normal human behaviors, we can represent it by the circle I've got drawn here, this outer circle. And the first thing we can do is break this circle, or human behavior, into 2 big, broad categories. And we can say that the upper half of the circle is represented by one of those categories, and that category would be people who have a strong outgoing nature, outgoing being the key word, and the lower half representing those people who are reserved. So those are the 2 big, broad categories, and everybody really has a blend of both of these traits. Sometimes are more outgoing, sometimes are more reserved, but people will tend more one way than the other. And what we call this drive is called the pace drive. Sometimes it's called the motor drive because it's related to how quickly people think, act, move, speak. It's often connected to how loud these people speak. Outgoing people tend to be faster paced, so faster paced. And reserved people tend to be slower paced. Again, these are tendencies, don't want to box anybody in. Just some tendencies people exhibit in terms of how they go through life and process things in the world. We can also divide this circle into a different driver. I said that the upper and lower half represents the pace or motor drive. We can also say that the left side of the circle represents people who are more task-oriented. And the right side represents people who are more people-oriented. And this drive is what's called the compass drive, or you could say priority, in terms of what priority do they place on things. People tend to put a priority on the task in their lives, on the left-hand side of the circle, or on the people, relationship side of their life as they go through life. And I'll share some more insights in a later video on this. But for right now, just say task-oriented, people-oriented. When you put the drives together is when you get the 4 quadrants of the DISC model. And so D, being the upper left quadrant, people who are both task-oriented and outgoing, the key word to describe them is dominant. They represent about 10%, people that have that as a primary driver of theirs, about 10% of the general population. The upper right-hand quadrant would be people who are both outgoing and people-oriented. Letter is I. and the word we use is inspiring. They represent about 25 to 30% of the general population. Moving around the circle, we have people who are reserved and people-oriented. Say that those are the people who have more supportive traits. So S is the word letter, and the word is supportive to best describe that trait. And that represents about 30 to 35% of the general population. Keep on moving around the circle. The people who are reserved and task-oriented, the letter we use is C. The word is cautious, the cautious style. Represents about 20 to 25% of the general population. So as we're working with people, what we find is these traits really, they're a blend, and I've got other blog posts that talk about this specifically. But these become the 4 letters for the alphabet we use to describe human behavior, and we start looking at blends and different intensities of the different traits for an individual. And using these 4 descriptors, we can find a way to describe pretty much everybody on the planet. Excuse me. And what we'll say is that when we're looking at the dominant trait, one of them is a drive for results. So when I'm working with that person, I want to make sure I'm focused on results. A person that has inspiring traits, one of the things that's very, very important to them is recognition. So I want to make sure that I'm really being friendly to them, showing them that I like them, recognizing who they are. Look at the supportive person. Key is relationship. Keyword there is relationship. They tend to process a lot of what happens in the world, including task, through a relationship filter. How does this task impact a relationship, and how does it affect other people and their feelings? And then people who are cautious tend to process from the filter of what's the reason for this, or the why.
This test is based on psychology by a man named William Marston. And this was in 1928. He came up with a theory called the emotions of normal people. And so what he did is he divided people into these different sections. But you know how Myers-Briggs, you have option 1 and option 2. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, right? So you had introvert, extrovert, right? Feeling, thinking. So you were this, or you were that, or you were that, and you were that. Okay? Or Alexandre was this, and this, and this, and this. Right? So you get 4 letters. Now this man, instead, he says, okay, that's okay to think about personality type, who I am. But what about how people interact with other people? Right? Maybe the way we are is different when we are by ourselves than when we are in situations with other people. So that's what he's trying to come up with, a theory which explains behavior in groups and interactions. So it actually is very different. You can't compare Myers-Briggs with DISC. So one way to describe, to explain this is there are people in the world who are positive, and there are people in the world who are negative. Is that true? Do you agree? Positive, negative. Okay. And then there are people who think that they can control their life. They are in control of their environment, of a situation. They don't like what's happening, they change it. Okay? And then there are people that believe that there are forces, outside forces, influencing their life. Please stop me if you don't understand. Okay? So, these blue people are the people who believe they have control over their environment. Okay? And these black people here, they are not in control. Okay? Now, that's up and down. Now, left and right is positive and negative, right? So we draw this line. Let's do, this is tough. Okay. So these squiggly people are negative. And these squiggly people are positive. Okay? So now this quadrant, 1, 2, 3, 4. Right? Let's name them. D, I, S, C. So D, are they in control or not in control? In control. Are they positive or negative? So there are people that are in control, but that have a negative outlook. Okay? What about I? Control positive. S? Okay. Yeah, and C? Great. So now, what does D stand for? Dominance. I? S? And C. Okay. So, what does he say about results, recognition, relationship, and reason? What are those values?
What people expect.
Yeah, what's important to them in a group, in class, at your job, right? So a dominant person wants to see, okay, cool, this company is interesting, but what are the results? Where's the money, right? Recognition. What does it mean to be recognized?
No, my work is important.
Yeah. Have you ever been in a situation when you're in a group for a project? You know, I know like letras people are in groups, at least all the time. And you have to do a presentation, whatever, and someone takes credit for your work. Someone says, oh yeah, this presentation I made. And you're like, I was up until 4 in the morning making that. Doesn't that annoy you? Okay, those are people that are I, are the most pissed off when that happens. What about S? What is relationship? What does that mean? If you're the teacher and you have students that are S, what does that mean to them? What does that mean to them? What's important? What does it mean for the relationship to be the most important?
It's more than the formal.
Yeah. They want to be your friend on Facebook. Yeah. They want interaction. And lastly, C, cautious people. Yeah. They need the reason for everything. So, look, I think this is funny. So 10% of the population are dominant, 25 inspiring, 30 to 35 supportive, and 20 to 25 are cautious. What did our class get? You have a lot of dominant people compared to the population percentages. But what does that mean? Either we did the test wrong, or the test doesn't work, or the what?
That's the way we are.
That's the way we are. Or maybe dominant people are more likely to sign up for extension courses. Because they're in control, they want to choose what to learn. idea. So I want you to get into your groups of what you got. So all the D's together, all the I's together, S and C together. Can you do that? We'll do D, I, S, C. I'm going to give everyone a scenario. And I want you to talk with your group about what you would do. And be truthful. So maybe the test is wrong. Okay? But so, you went to the cantina, okay? And the girl in front of you in line asked for a bonification. Okay?
For?
Bonification. With a Coke, with Coca-Cola. And the man at the window said, 3 reais. Okay. And then you show up at the window and you're like, I want a bonification. And a Coca-Cola. And he's like, 5 reais. Okay, what would you do? Okay, who's the leader for C's? Lucas. What would you guys do?
We would ask again if see if there was a mistake with the price, and if insisted on 5 reais, then we would find out.
If he said it's 5 reais, you're like, okay, cool, I want my bonification. Great. D, who's your leader?
First of all, I would ask for the window, for the door. By the way, we had that with this, with you. Why? First of all, asking if I have a debt.
Oh, if there's a problem.
If there's a problem with her, why she's
Oh.
charging more for?
So you would
After
say,
that, first of all,
you would yeah.
after that, verify the solution. I will
Well, I think all of us will take a decision like take a little more aggressive, like asking why. Not just paying and that's okay. No, we don't accept the situation.
For example, I say it's 5 reais. What do you say?
I said, not in group. I would scream so loud I don't have to. And
And I would say it's 5 reais.
Then I would.
You're not gonna pay it? Do you want your Coke? It's
No,
5
I
reais.
don't want my Coke so as well, and I go away.
I'm gonna go away. Okay.
I get started, but I don't buy it. I get started.
S. You guys are S's?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead. What would you do?
We would accept it.
You would say, would you say anything?
Yeah, there's two different possibilities. If we don't know that there's a difference in prices according to whatever people. Oh, for you it's 3 reais, for you it's 5. If you don't know that, we'll accept it. That's how much it costs. Unless it's too expensive, then it's a steep price for this. But if we know that there's a difference in his own judgment, we will ask why. Why are you doing this to us?
But your first reaction is to think, okay, 5 reais is not that much money, I'm gonna pay it.
Yeah, but if it says that it's because of us, we would just leave it.
Yes.
And eyes. What would you guys do?
Well, we can
Guys, listen up.
No, but
we first ask how much the things are separate, like how much the confusion, how much the coke. And if he says like, no, it's 3 and it's 2, we will pay.
You would pay as well. Cool. One more scenario. You are in your group for, I know, and give me a class that you study. Linguistics. Imagine you're in linguistic. No? Imagine you're in French class. Okay, everyone studies French. And you have to give a presentation about French verbs and life in Paris. Okay? And you've made this amazing presentation. No one helped you. You sent like 8 emails to your group. This happens, doesn't it? This happens a lot.
Yes.
And you sent an email, and you're like, guys, WTF, I'm doing this alone. It's due tomorrow, whatever. No one responds. But you're like, okay, I need a really good grade. So I'm just gonna do it by myself. You show up, and all your partners from the group are in the class. They stand up and they give the presentation with you, and some of them speak better French than you. So they sound better, and it looks like they made the presentation. What would you say to the professor or to the students? Or would you just accept that you did well? So let's start with S's. What would you guys do? Different leader. Go ahead.
I think that depends on situation. For example, if these people that didn't help to organize the presentation, if there is no reason she did this because she's lazy. I don't know, we are gonna talk to her and say the next presentation you will do the biggest part of it. But if there is a reason, for example, oh, she's not here in Araraquara, her brother is sick, oh, okay.
See that? Positive. Very positive. Okay. C's.
Who is the person if it's your friend? You may say that I did that this time, but you will do the most part of it in the next project.
Yep.
But I don't know if we are talking to each other.
You wouldn't talk to the teachers? Probably not.
No, I guess we agreed that we would talk to our friends at first. Yeah, before talking to teacher.
What if the other students are not your friends?
Well, that's a problem.
That's a problem. You would talk to the teacher? Or you just...
Yeah,
You got a really good grade. You got like a 9 out of 10. Yeah, but everyone got a 9. They got a 9. And then you jumped.
I don't know, maybe not. Depends.
You wouldn't say anything. Okay, eyes.
If the group is about our friends, we just will talk to them and not talk to the teacher.
Yeah.
We wouldn't do that.
Okay. All agree? D's?
Okay, yeah. It's the same situation. If they are friends, we talk to them. And oh, man, why didn't you answer my email? So if the group is boring, the people are crazy, we would talk to the teacher and say, oh, I would not like to.
We tried, but the trial didn't work, so there's the situation. But if the teacher is not cool,
Yeah.
you should shut up and sit down.
Just move on.
Let it
Yeah. Alright, I think we all agree. So I just wanted to give you some adjectives for the different groups for DISC. Remember that you're a combination of all of them. So I made you get into the groups of what your dominant trait is, but you have a percentage on each of them. So, for example, let's take, I don't know, anyone here. Sulin, she has 36% dominance, but only 5% in cautiousness, okay? So she has low C and high D. So look at what your score is, and I'm going to give you some adjectives for describing high and low of each of them. So D, high D, you guys are demanding, forceful, determined, and ambitious. True or not true? True? Systematic? Did you get not systematic? And if you have a low D, did anyone get a low percentage? Like 15, 10?
0.
0?
0 D.
You got 0?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, well, you're conservative, peaceful, and agreeable.
Yeah.
That means. Let's see. I. Where are our eyes? Eyes. Persuasive. Do you know what it means to be persuasive? When you convince people to do things. And enthusiastic. Really positive. And who had a, did anyone here have a low score for I? Reflective, logical, pessimistic. Maybe? No? You could be wrong. S? High S is calm, patient. And who's low S? Besides being restless, eager, and impatient. Scott says. And then high C's, careful, systematic, and low C's, stubborn in opinion. What is it to be stubborn?
No. What's stubborn?
Does anyone know the word stubborn? Beauty, what does it mean?
I believe it's obstinate, or not.
Like, give me an example. Give the class an
Reluctant.
example.
Reluctant.
Reluctant?
Sorry, reluctant.
For example, you know, when you get into a conversation or an argument about politics, a stubborn person will never change their mind. So never argue with a stubborn person. Okay? So who was stubborn? Raise your hand again. No? Not stubborn? I can be pretty stubborn. Okay. We'll switch gears quickly to talk about Dale Carnegie. So, who did the reading? It was really long, I'm sorry. That will be the longest I'll ever give you. I want to hear stories from you. I want to know what you learned from the reading. So, let's see. Three of you together. 3 of you together. All 5 of you. 3, 2. Okay? I want you guys to tell the class about number 1, what you learned in the reading.
3.
About how to become genuinely interested in other people. You'll have 3 minutes to talk about it. You guys, number 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah? I want you to tell me one story that you read in the reading from that section. Group 1, will you guys come up?
Stand up.
Yeah, stand up. Yeah, the 3 of you. Yeah. Okay. Group 1, can you tell us how we become genuinely interested in other people?
Listening to them, waiting until they finish their talking, paying attention to what they are saying, talking about something that interests them.
Yeah, we talked a lot about, I think it's Avril. Yeah, that he reads things before his meetings, and then they talk with the persons about things that the persons like, because the person's not actually interested about you, but they're interested about themselves. And then if you try to understand, to get interested with what them have to say, they will be so happy to say what they have to say about themselves, and they will get interested in you just because you listen to them. You know?
Do you have an example of maybe one time you've done this in your life? Like sometime that you talked about what someone else was interested in? To be friends with them?
Actually, I have the opposite of the situation. Because I have a lot to say.
Guys, pay attention for...
I say a lot, and after I read this, I start to think about what I listen about the other people, and then start to pay attention more about this and ask people the situation. Then I start to do that and ask the people like, how's your day? What did you do in your job today? And the people get so happy for you to get interested in what they did in the day, you know, in the college, the job, and then they like it. It's like that.
Personally, I have a little trouble about this becoming interested in other people. Sometimes when I ask you, oh, where are you from, what's your name, what's your given name and family, sometimes people think I am a gossip person.
Well, there's a fine line. You don't want to go over it, but I have an example from this. I was reading this book because I was taking out the paragraphs for you to read, and I went to a party in São Paulo like two weeks ago, and I had a list of the email addresses. I was invited with an email. And it was for people that work in São Paulo that I could possibly maybe get a job with later. So I took all the email addresses and I looked them up online, every person that was going to the party. And I made a list of what I found on the internet about those people.
Stalker.
Stalker, yeah. I learned that one of the ladies that was going really liked hot yoga. Because I found her registration online for many, many hot yoga classes. And I started talking to her about hot yoga. I think she really liked me. So, it works. Okay, thank you.
It's about smile, so if I arrive here and start to say this way, you not this way. So I will smile, so you pay attention. It's really important to smile. That's why Carnegie said.
So the history that we read in the part of the book is about a man that he didn't smile so much, and once he looked at the mirror and he said, today I am going to smile to everyone. So he woke up, looked at the mirror, said the things, and he went downstairs to meet his wife. And he smiled to her, and he gave her a beautiful good morning. And she said, and she was shocked because he never did it. So he recognized that if he smiles more, the people will smile back to him. So that's the history. And that's a lot of parts, like he smiled at the man of the subway, the cashman, I don't know how the cashman, the
ticket seller.
Yeah, he smiled, yeah. He gave him a good morning and he smiled and blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
And that's shocked, so. No, I don't know because he didn't know the man, so, but he recognized that when he smiles to other people, the other people would smile back to him. So that's the moral.
Yeah, if you give a smile to someone very sad, you make the day of the person better.
It's true.
And it can help you too in bad situations, like the scenario we made. You ask to the man, why did she pay just 3 reals and me just 5? It's if I say, why did I pay that? Something like that. It's really difficult. It's more difficult. So if you smile and be kind, it's easier. The things become easier.
All right. All right. Tell us about number 3.
Number 3, tell about it's important to know Chinese names, because it says in the book that the person's name is the most sweetest sound everyone can listen in any language, because everybody wants to listen to their own name spoken over and over again, repeated by a lot of different people. The more the better.
And the example that I could remember, they remember the story, I didn't, but I remember the end. The last paragraph mentions that usually people who sponsor libraries or university campuses have their names that have like that type. Can I say this? Yeah, wait up this word. So they have the names of these people who sponsor these establishments, these institutions. They have these names as thankful homage, or homage, how can I say? Something to honor them.
You don't have that in Brazil, right? Because your universities, most of them are public.
What?
Yes, the guy's name.
Here.
Yes.
Oh, you're right. Mesquita or something. What's his name?
Júlio.
Yeah, he's probably really happy that you know his name.
I know he's son of Júlio de Mesquita, obviously, but Júlio de Mesquita founded the newspaper, Estado de São Paulo. And then Júlio de Mesquita Filho is honored in university.
He started the university? Or did someone name it in his honor?
I don't think so.
Yes.
Because UNESCO was founded like the government was acquiring colleges from different parts of state, some of them going bankrupt. And then the government bought them, for example, in Bauru it was Universidade de Bauru. And here it was something like Faculdade de Ciências e Letras, under the name, and then someone told me that Mackenzie was here. The Letras course was ran by Mackenzie, not UNESCO, some years ago.
My first graduation, dentistry, was founded in about
1920.
And it was a private.
Wow.
And after some years, and pharmacy, not dentistry. First was a pharmacy, and then vice pharmacy. And then together to dentistry course and becoming a public.
Interesting.
Course.
Livia.
Actually, I think this is true because something like that happened to me today. So I was today, 8 a.m., I was in front of my class, I was waiting my teacher to begin the class, and another teacher passed through me, and he was not my teacher about 2 years ago. And he said, "Hi, Livia." Oh, wow, you remember my name, and then we started to talk, and I don't know, I just became happy, because he remembered me.
Cool. Jessica.
Us that work on become teachers, it's very hard to remember everyone's name. Even our teachers, we perceive that they don't really remember our names.
But it's really important.
It's really
Yes.
important.
Yeah. How does it make you feel when someone doesn't know your name and it's very obvious you don't know your name?
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
And it's terrible when you find someone and this person, oh, you're here, and yeah, but you don't remember the name of this person, and you, I don't know how to say it. It's very warming when this happens.
Yeah. What are some tips that you can give the class for remembering people's names?
Add on Facebook.
Add on Facebook. That's good.
But just don't come up.
Or what about when you're exchanging phone numbers and you don't know their name? What about that? How about add your number to my phone?
Yeah.
But ask you the full name.
Ask her. Oh, what's your full name again? What's your last name?
It happened to me like
That's good. That's good.
yeah, it was awkward. And I was like, what's your name again?
I always ask them. I'm not sure about it. Because I always forget. And I will ask again after asking. Alright. And then I will forget again. And I will ask.
So if you make it funny,
Yeah.
then it's better.
Yeah. Make a joke.
Make a joke.
Maybe it's.
But you can ask the person to type their numbers and their type their name as well.
Exactly. I use that a lot. Cool, thank you. Okay. Be a good listener, encourage others to talk about themselves. What does that mean?
Well, I think everybody here have a friend that wants to tell about your day or you want to tell some experience and then you're talking and your friend like interrupts you in the middle and you can't talk and you get very angry. I get very angry when I'm telling something and other person arrives and start talking about other things. It's very, very boring. I think nobody likes it because everybody likes to have a little attention. So everybody likes to talk about themselves. So you have to be a good listener to people to like you. In the text he said you have to be interested for people to be interested in you. So I think this is very important.
The text, they say that the people are interested in themselves and not in you. If you listen, you make the people feel special because they saying important things.
What is a story that he tells?
Told about a customer who was annoyed employee. And he went to his city to the Chicago to being aggressive, talking loud and arguing a lot. And then the owner of the employee just heard, he didn't stop the guy, he let him talk. So after the guy finished and the talk and the conversation, he said thanks for saying what you need to tell me. And I will improve and I will do my best to help you next time. And they become friends after all. Something like that.
Good story.
It's very important because if you think, if someone comes to you like shouting and arguing a lot, they expect you to argue back. So if you don't do that, if you say like, oh, okay, sorry, they would like be bad with themselves for shouting with you. Because you were so nice to them and they did that.
Anyone who has a boyfriend, girlfriend, next time you get in an argument, you should try that.
Yeah.
Like, okay, you're right.
Yeah.
It's hard. It's very hard to do.
Sometimes you want to fight and the other one doesn't cooperate. You are, oh my god, okay.
It's disappointing when the people just say, yeah, that's alright. I say, no!
Oh my god, that's bad. But yeah. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, okay, so he talked about the example from Roosevelt, that whenever he was going to have a visitor in his home, he would go up and research and read about the things that this visitor enjoys, this visitor is interested in. So he thinks this is a way of, I don't know, gaining the other person, I don't know, interest, because it's like talking about something that he or she enjoys.
How can you apply this to your life, or have you before?
Well, we could do it again, search for the other people's interests, like the yoga classes and stuff. And I think it would help, like, on a situation when you have to gain the other person's trust and interest. You can talk about what he or she likes, because this person will, that's to talk about what he or she likes.
When is it hard to find something to talk about? When do you normally start talking about yourself? You know, like for me at least, when you're bored, right? Or when you don't know the person very well, it's easier to talk about yourself. Is that true? You can say like, "Oh, the weather is crazy," and "How are you?" And then you don't know anything else. But so it's if you try to figure out what the other person is interested in, and you just listen to them, then you don't have to do very much work. You just have to listen.
I would like to ask about TV shows and movies.
Just say something stupid, and the people have a joke, receive that as a joke, and laugh, and then you start conversation. The people used to open for you when they laugh, you know? Just to say something stupid, they like that. Used to work sometimes you,
What about when you?
If you want to start a conversation with someone, always ask things with where, why. Because if you ask, for example, do you like something? The person can say only, oh, yes, I do. Yes. But you have to say, where are you going? Then say something and
Then
more substantive.
I started to, oh, where are you from? Oh, do you like it? I usually say, if Marina Gabriela, if I do or graduate in journalism, Marina Gabriela, don't work there. Work there. Do you know Marina Gabriela? No. It's a big journalist. And I used to say, look at her, I'm not choosing journalism.
Oh, got it.
For that, people think I am a gossip.
No, but it's better to be more interested in someone and be considered a gossiper than to not be interested at all.
The biggest problem about this start conversation is that you put a limit. You get a little afraid to talk to the other person, you know? And you think, whoa, I have nothing to lose, I have nothing to lose. Then start a conversation, then you get a little more comfortable to talk about anything. And if the people don't like you, you just say, alright, see you later.
Yeah. What if it's a professor? How can you talk in terms of the professor's interest? What is the professor's interest?
Subject.
Their subject. And what else do professors do?
Yeah, don't talk.
Anyway. What do they do? Research. They research. Have you ever read your professor's research? No? Okay. Just remember, that's really powerful, because for them, no one ever reads it. So if you know what they are interested in, wow, you're going to get a 10 in every class. All right. Okay, and last one. Last group. Last group. All right.
Actually, group number 6 seems to be
a mix of everything, because make the other person important and doing speak sincerely. So how you can make someone feel important? You have to remember the person's name, smile, listen to the person, make the person feel well, and do not do it. Do not be flattered. You have to do it sincerely. You have to be honest and do not. You don't have to want to seem a thing that you are not. You don't have to be more than it's expected.
It's like the story that's on the text. And there's a guy who's talking to an old lady about the house where she lives. And she likes him because he was interested in the house and the things she liked. And in the end, she gave the car she had to him because he was interested in that stuff.
Yeah, I really like that story. Does anyone have a story from like their own personal life when something like that happened? We all need to be more interested in people then. Okay, thank you. Okay, so we're running out of time, and I want to show you what we're going to do next class. So we're not going to write journals today, but you're going to have to write a journal and send it to me. You have 2 weeks to do it. Okay? You're going to send it to me anyway. But I'll send you a reminder email. Okay. So the next reading is not from this book, not from Dale Carnegie. It's from The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This book is fabulous because, you know, Dale Carnegie gives advice, but this man, he is like, no bullshit, right? He's like, all right, this is what you got to do. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, done. You are a successful person. Look at his face. Look at his face. He's like, no bullshit. Right? He's like, got no hair. He's like, all right, you can look at it later. But so I found the book online. I didn't want to kill any more trees. I hope everyone's okay with that. And you're going to work in groups, and your groups are, so this is the link, okay? It's on the website, and these are your groups, okay? So some people aren't here today, but I'll send you guys a list of emails so you can exchange emails. This is really important. I will not be here next week. I'm going to a conference, and so you have an assigned room. So each group has their own room, their own space. You don't even have to go to the library. All you got to do is show up on your assigned room. These are the pages of that book online that you are required to read. I don't care if, like, let's see, this group, Lucas, Livia. I don't care if you read the whole 10 pages, or you divide it up, whatever. Do whatever is best for you. But you have to put together a presentation, and you're going to present to the class. Okay? And these are your presentation dates. So the first 3 groups are presenting in 2 weeks, the next 2 in 3 weeks, and then the last 2, 4 weeks from today. Now, if you go up here to the course expectations, you will find presentation guidelines. Okay, who wants to read? Is that easy to see? Okay, anyway, Audrey, will you read this here?
All presentations should be approximately 20 minutes. Presentations must include visual aids.
PowerPoint, present, images, and handouts.
Okay, so you can have one image. You can use the internet. You can have a PowerPoint. You can have anything.
What does handout mean?
Handout is a piece of paper like this. And you get one, you get one, you get one. Each person gets a handout. You can have a combination of those things, just one presentation, just one image, doesn't matter. But it will be like today. You come up and you just talk about what you learned. It should be pretty simple. Right? If you have any questions, let me know. And so remember, everything's here, and then you have your groups and your assignments. Okay? And I'm still talking to Ricardo about how to get the keys, but you will be assigned to these rooms, and Ricardo will probably walk around and knock and ask you how you are doing. So use the time productively. You should have to spend no time outside of class doing the presentation, because you can do it next week during the semester. All right. Any questions?